All right, it's Monday. We're in Los Angeles, California. I'm Bill Reiter, which means this is Reiter's Block. It's presented by Stefan versus the Game on Facebook Watch. We're going to celebrate Brooks Koepka's greatness. Mark Immelman will swing by as our guest to help us do that. And we got some drama in Lakerland to get into. All that and more starts right now. It's never a dull moment in the city of drama, in the city of angels. This show may be presented by Stefan versus the Game, but in Los Angeles, California, it's Magic Johnson versus the Lakers. He stepped aside more than a month ago, very last minute, leaving Jeannie Buss sources tell me in the lurch and shocked. And today, Magic Johnson directing his aim at GM Rob Pelinka, who was his deputy. He was still the GM, but under Magic when Magic was the president of operations. Magic directed his aim at Rob Pelinka earlier, and here's one of the bombshells he dropped on First Take. You'll see the quote here. Quote, "People around the office were telling me Rob was saying things. Rob Pelinka, I didn't like those things being said behind my back. Then I wasn't in the office enough. So on, so on. I started getting calls from my friends outside basketball that those things were being said to them. If you're going to talk betrayal, it's only with Rob. Just Rob. I wasn't having fun coming to work anymore, especially when I got to work beside you, knowing that you want my position." Here's the thing about Magic Johnson. And talking to some sources today, reaching out to some folks in the Lakers organization, here's the exact sense that I got. That A, Magic Johnson has betrayed the Lakers by going public with this. It damages their brand. It makes them look even more dysfunctional, or really reveals the dysfunction that's clearly there. But it was also said, and it's also true based on what I've heard from sources going back months now, that Magic Johnson's not lying. That Magic Johnson was a guy that was disparaged often by Rob Pelinka. An example that I've heard from people in that Lakers organization is that when Magic was not in the office, and he was not in the office a lot, Rob Pelinka would walk up to every single person he could find, knowing Magic wasn't there, and ask, "Where's Magic? Seen Magic? Oh, is Magic not here? Where's Magic? Is Magic here?" As a continuous theme of disrespect that, if from his perspective, Magic Johnson wasn't doing the job. So the ugliness now with what the Lakers have become, really the Cleveland Browns of the NBA, is about not Magic Johnson saying something that's not true, but saying something that's almost certainly true, according to sources certainly, but that he shouldn't be sharing. And he did it, and he knew he did it on the morning before Frank Vogel was going to be introduced as the head coach, which means Rob Pelinka would be at the podium, which means reporters would be able to ask Pelinka about these comments, which is exactly what happened. And here's how Pelinka tried to respond and shield himself in that press opportunity.
It's saddening and disheartening to think he believes things that are a misperception. I think all of us in life probably have been through things where maybe there's third-party whispers or he said, she said things. But I look forward to the opportunity to talk with him and sit down with him and work through them, just like in any relationship, because they're just simply not true. I stand beside him.
I mean, Rob Pelinka was Kobe Bryant's agent. He drives a hard bargain. He's a very charming man. Impressive guy. Very smooth how he deflected. But it doesn't mean that he's telling the truth. Magic Johnson was a guy who wasn't around, and Rob Pelinka was a guy who pointed out on a regular basis. That's certainly been known. That's certainly been a fact. It also underscores the Game of Thrones-like nature of this organization, the power vacuums that exist, the politics that exist, the danger for Frank Vogel sitting in that press conference, not certain when he's going to get asked a question with Jason Kidd behind him. The Rambuses have this interesting power opportunity. Linda Rambus, incredibly close to Jeannie Buss. You notice that Frank Vogel actually cited Kurt Rambus when he got hired, which shouldn't make sense since, you know, if you're the head coach, you're thinking the GM and the owner. The fact that Vogel, and he did, brought up and thanked Kurt Rambus at the start of the press conference tells you how much power there is and how many different power bases there are. So a reporter, and good for them, asked Rob Pelinka the obvious question, the question people in that organization don't have the answer to: what exactly is the power structure with the Los Angeles Lakers?
There is a very clear and simple plan here. I make basketball choices after collaboration with the staff and make recommendations to Jeannie. The decision to hire Frank was something that I decided to do and recommended to her, and she agreed with that. That's how it'll be going forward.
It is clear, but not in the way Pelinka wants you to believe. Let me try to cut through some of the BS there if I can. Because in the interview today on First Take, part of what Magic Johnson said is he thought he had the power, and then he went into a meeting specifically to have Luke Walton fired, and Jeannie backed off that and said no. That's exactly what Pelinka's describing for his situation now. He makes a decision, but the decision isn't final unless Jeannie signs off. That means Linda Rambis, who has Jeannie Buss's ear, has a ton of power. That means Kurt Rambis, who's married to Linda Rambis being Jeannie's consigliere and best friend, has Jeannie's ear. Rob Pelinka's the GM, but he's no more a decision maker than anyone else in that organization who has to get something from above them approved. This is not a recipe for success for the Los Angeles Lakers. You've got Rob Pelinka getting disparaged by Magic Johnson and being forced into a conversation where he admits whatever decision he makes, it has to go up the pole to Jeannie, and we know from that Magic conversation, the Luke Walton firing that didn't happen, that it's not a rubber stamp by Jeannie Buss. It is not a good situation for the Lakers. I do want to take a moment to just point out poor Frank Vogel, who's way over his head here, and I don't know that he's in the right position to be talking at this early stage about the culture of the Lakers and how thriving it is, but it's exactly what he tried to do.
You know, I understand what the perception is when you lose for a few years and some things happen, like that can happen. Okay, but there's a positive vibe happening with our team right now. There really is. Okay, and you know, it's just one of those things that you're just going to have to wait and see. Okay, but you're going to be happy with the product that we put on the floor this year and where we're going as an organization. You really are.
I actually like Vogel. I like him. I think he's an interesting coach. He could be a good coach. But how the hell do you know, man? What are you talking about? Everything's fine. You've been here for 6 minutes. You've been here for 6 minutes, and Magic Johnson's already firing shots at the guy who hired you. Frank Vogel, maybe, and I mean this respectfully, maybe we're not the ones who have to wait and see. Maybe you should be the one who waits and sees. This is, and I like Jeannie Buss. We've had her on this show, friend of the show, and I've always said that I thought she could be a great owner. And it looks like, unfortunately, I'm probably going to be dead wrong on that, because this is the kind of cultural malaise, this is the kind of organizational chaos that turns an organization, storied or not, and the Lakers are obviously storied, into a failure and into a laughingstock. It's what they are right now. I think a few key takeaways from me and just reaching out to people in that Lakers organization and around the NBA today. One, and I already said it, but I want to say it again, the fact that Frank Vogel had to thank Kurt Rambis at the start of his interview tells you how much power Kurt Rambis has in this organization. Two, Pelinka's talking about the power structure and having to get things approved by Jeannie means approved by Linda Rambis as well. That's exactly what that means. She's a major, major power broker. Three, Magic Johnson was telling the truth. It is still a betrayal. It's the second betrayal in less months than that, 6 weeks, by Magic Johnson. He left without telling Jeannie Buss. He quit on television. It damaged their relationship, the organization's relationship with LeBron. And now he's airing their dirty laundry at a time when they have to, desperately have to, land a free agent as a max guy, whoever they can get this summer. I wouldn't want to play here, and I'm telling you, a lot of guys around the NBA aren't going to want to either. And the other thing is, and I already said this, but I'm going to say it again, Magic's not lying. Rob Pelinka talked disparagingly about one of the great Lakers of all time, and now he's accepting and dealing with the karma of that. I said this when Magic quit. I'm going to say it again. Jeannie Buss has to fire everyone in that organization, separate her friendship, Linda Rambis, from the professional. It's business. It's strictly business. It's not personal. And hire a pro. However long the Rambises have this kind of influence, however long Rob Pelinka's in this job, however long Magic Johnson's feeling all upset and feeling all the feels and is taking shots at the acting GM, the Lakers are going to be a failure, and the only person who can stop that is Jeannie Buss. That's the takeaway from today's press conference. We're going to talk some golf with Mark Immelman here in just a few moments on CBS Sports HQ's Writer's Block. Brooks Koepka, he got it. It was closer than we thought it would be. We'll get Mark Immelman's perspective when we come back to LA here in just a minute. All right, welcome back into Writer's Block, presented by Stefan versus the Game on Facebook. Watch the Lakers. Magic Johnson cannibalized a lot of the oxygen in the room, so we started there. But we got to talk some PGA Championship. Brooks Koepka gets another one, but it wasn't the runaway we thought it was going to be, so we're going to go to our friend Mark Immelman, CBS Sports Golf Analyst. Mark, that was a lot closer than we expected it to be yesterday.
Bill, it was a lot closer than everyone expected it to be. It was a fantastic championship in the end, and I think it was just what New York City, what Bethpage Black, what the PGA Championship needed. You know, you had the protagonist in Brooks Koepka just basically manhandling the golf course, grabbing the field by the scruff of the neck and beating them upside the head. And it looked like it was going to be a coronation. In fact, in our pre-broadcast meeting Sunday morning, Jim Nance said, we're going to embrace this for what this is and realize we're watching history. And, you know, he got out pretty solid on the front 9 and then birdied 10. And you kind of thought, okay, this is it. But I was just a couple groups ahead. And those holes, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, I mean, those things were so mean. The conditions were so hard. And, you know, he fell foul. And all of a sudden, it looked like DJ may pull the thing out. But in the end, Brooks showed the true class that he is and pulled the thing out the fire.
We know Bethpage Black is a very arduous golf course, playing a lot more like a U.S. Open than PGA Championships we've grown accustomed to. For you, how much of Koepka's day do you think was the nerves of the thing? It's a Sunday and he's trying to win a championship. And how much do you think it was just the course getting a little bit of revenge on a great golfer?
Well, Brooks referenced the fact, Bill, that he wasn't that nervous about the whole thing. He was always just speaking of staying focused, you know, trying to stay in the present, hit each shot on its merits. And so he said he wasn't necessarily nervous. He was more just trying to, you know, stay in the game. And so I think it was more just the difficulties of the conditions. I mean, we had winds that were gusting up to 25 miles an hour. And if that wind is consistent, it's okay. But if you start to have winds that get up and lay down all of a sudden, it makes shot selection hard. And so, case in point 14, the par 3, he gets up there with 8 iron and just a few groups in front. DJ's hit 7 iron into the middle of the green on the par 3. Brooks goes with 8. The wind lays down and he blasts it through the back, makes the 4th straight bogey in a row. So the gusting winds made it hard, and then the fairways were just so narrow and the rough was so punitive. It was topped off at 3.5 inches Wednesday afternoon, and it wasn't cut after that. And so it was just downright gory, man. If you drove the thing off the fairway, you were pretty well pitching out, unless you were Brooks in certain instances where you could get the club on the ball. So it was just really hard conditions. As far as Brooks goes mentally, I mean, he's just so mentally and emotionally tough. I don't think there were many nerves at play there.
Yeah, well, we've certainly seen his success of late. He's won 4 of the last 9 majors, 4 of the last 8 that he's actually played in. Without Mark giving way to too much hyperbole, it's an incredible run. He's not 30 yet. Where does he rank right now in the game? Where could he rank historically if what we're seeing in any level continues?
Well, historically, he's already a Hall of Famer. Where he ranks right now in the game is he's now officially again the world's #1 golfer, and clearly the higher watermark. I mean, all of his competitors are referencing the fact that Brooks is playing the game at a different level. I mean, currently he holds the 18, 36, and 54-hole scoring record with the PGA. He's the first player to defend the US Open and the PGA Championship, 7th to successfully defend, 5th wire-to-wire winner. I mean, the accolades just keep on going. But he's been on this torrid tear of 4 majors in 8 starts, and that's some sort of clip. And with his game, with the mindset, because people can measure the strength, the physicality of it all, but there's the immeasurable in his emotional control, and the fact that I feel like he was galvanized playing on the European Tour as a young professional. So he came up hard, Scrabble. So he's got that blue collar, chip on the shoulder thing about him. So you add that to these massive gifts, and I feel like he might be one of the all-time greats.
We're certainly not writing off Tiger Woods, and we saw what he did at the Masters, but eventually there's going to have to be an heir to Tiger, not in terms of dominance on the course, Mark, but obviously just in terms of the attention, the eyeballs, the excitement that Tiger Woods brings to the game when he's making cuts, to say nothing of winning golf tournaments, and this year winning yet another major. How likely is it, not as a golfer alone, but as a force, as somebody that captivates, that Brooks Koepka can play a significant role in that transition whenever it comes?
Well, look, the truth of it, Bill, you know, I think all the fans know, I think the PGA Tour knows that no one can replace Tiger for just the global reach that he has. Tiger transcends the game. And are we going to have stars on the PGA Tour? Absolutely. You've got Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy. I feel like if there is someone that could be McIlroy, and of course Brooks Koepka now. The thing about Koepka is he sort of flies under the radar and he stays out of the limelight. So he's not likely to get on the tabloids or anything like that. So can he take up the mantle in terms of being dominant like Tiger? Yeah, absolutely. He's now proved it. No one can deny Brooks Koepka what he has done and the prolific clip that he's currently playing at. But in terms of just the reach that Tiger had, I don't feel like anyone really, with respect to each and every one of the guys, can hold a candle to what Tiger Woods has done.
Koepka gets the PGA. Tiger didn't make the cut, but obviously coming off another green jacket as we look forward to the U.S. Open and what you've seen from both of those gentlemen so far this year. Mark, what are your expectations for a Koepka-Tiger Woods opportunity for one of those guys to be toward the top of the leaderboard when we get to our next major?
Yeah, I think pretty good. I really do. But let's not forget, okay, Tiger and Brooks played alongside Francesco Molinari for the first 2 rounds at the PGA Championship. And Brooks put the whip to Tiger. I mean, he shoots 63, 65. Tiger misses the cut. And so it was pretty one-sided there. And for the first time, I think, in his career, Tiger has had to answer questions about another player. So there's that. I think Tiger might use that as a bit of a catalyst. In terms of them being in contention at Pebble Beach, absolutely. Brooks is a defending U.S. Open champion, has won the thing twice in a row. Tiger's won multiple U.S. Opens. He's won a U.S. Open in dominating fashion at Pebble Beach. I think the story is going to be told by how the golf course is set up and what the weather is like there on the coastline, because that's going to define how the course plays. I would certainly say don't count out Dustin Johnson. The guy plays Pebble Beach really, really well. And look, for Bud, 1 or 2 putts coming down the stretch yesterday, he may have been the PGA champion.
Yeah, it turns out that Brooks Koepka needed almost every ounce of that massive lead that he built up. Mark Immelman, it was great. It was a great tournament. It was great having you on the show for the first time. We'd love to have you on many times. Thank you for your insight and your perspective.
I appreciate you. Love what you guys do, man. Thanks for having me.
That was very cool. And he's right. I mean, nobody's going to play as Tiger. Just for me as a fan, I'm actually mesmerized by Koepka. And I found myself watching Koepka even when it felt like a coronation, and certainly even more captivated yesterday as that lead shrunk. But he's Brooks Koepka, very, very good for the game of golf. We've got some other things to hit, but we want to just take a second and really focus in on what Koepka accomplished, what he did. We'll go inside the numbers on not just the win yesterday, not just another major, but what is a very historical run. When we come back to the program, it's Writer's Block with me, Bill Reiter, here on CBS Sports HQ. All right, welcome back into Writer's Block, presented by Stefan versus the Game on Facebook Watch. Man, Stefan is crushing the game. We'll get into that probably tomorrow or the next day. You know who else is crushing? Brooks Koepka. We just talked to Mark Immelman about this, so you already know. He is an absolute golfing force of nature right now. Even brought a little drama to the day yesterday. So to celebrate Koepka, we're going to keep the golf talk going a little bit longer and go inside the numbers on the world's best golfer at the moment. We start with the number 2 because Koepka became the first player ever to be reigning back-to-back champion of 2 major championships at the same time. He's won the last 2 U.S. Opens, and now, as of yesterday, the last 2 PGA Championships. What a run. The number 3 is next up as we honor Brooks Koepka. Koepka became just the 3rd player ever to win back-to-back PGA Championships since 1958. The other 2 to do it were both a guy, you probably heard of him. His name is Tiger Woods. Pretty good company. 11 on Inside the Numbers. With this win, the 29-year-old Koepka is only the 11th player to win 4 major titles before the age of 30. You never know. We've seen guys fall off a cliff, but he has a chance to be an all-timer. The number 1 is next up. Koepka was first in 4 major categories this week. He was first in strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained approach, Greens in regulation hit almost 74% of greens, and he had 19 birdies at a course at Bethpage Black that was absolutely brutal. And finally, 5-1. Koepka is now the odds-on favorite heading into the next major championship. Koepka is 5-1 to win the U.S. Open. What an incredible run. All right, so I'm coming off of Vegas weekend. Won a little bit of money playing cards. I'm feeling I'm going to get the gambling mojo back. I got some of that good Vegas feeling in me as we go to Bill's big bet of the day. They're booze. I get it. They're booze. I know. But still, I feel very confident. I said in a post-game hit here on CBS Sports HQ, hanging out with Reed Forgrave just after Portland advanced against Denver, I thought the Warriors would win in 4. I'm sticking by it. I think they sweep Portland. I think they crushed their will. I think Damian, and this actually I think was interesting, Damian Lillard talked in the postgame after that last loss about how difficult it is defensively, how they're always on him, how Draymond Green's waiting behind those perimeter defenders, and how it's like he's going up against wall. Lillard's never afraid of anybody. Lillard never admits weakness. This Warriors team has done what they do to most opponents. They've broken these guys physically, and I think they've broken Lillard mentally a little bit too. We've had, at times, 3 close games in this series, and Lillard has underperformed in the fourth quarter in every single one of those games. For all of those reasons, I think 3 is a pretty good number. Give me the Warriors -3. I think they stamp them out. I think Portland's best chance was to win Game 3. I know the game's at the Moda Center. I know it's in Portland. The series is over, and I think there's a chance the Warriors win big tonight. Give me Golden State. Keep it rolling. I'm putting some sizable money down. I'm going to take those Vegas winnings, and I'm just going to keep it happening. I'm going to keep it going. Warriors -3. I feel really good about it. CBS Sports HQ's got you covered. We got you covered here. The guys in Florida are going to take over right now down in Fort Lauderdale. Sports line up in 30 minutes. I'm Bill Reiter. We'll dive into some NBA talk. Have a great guest for you and lots of stuff happening on the program, Writer's Block, tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific tomorrow on Tuesday.